thank you. We now move on with the agenda today. We have not received any local board input. There are no extraordinary items. So that will move us straight into the agenda proper, item 8, which is the Waka Kotahi NZTA update. And online we have Nicole Rosie, the Chief Executive. With us today in person we have Steve Mutton, who is the Director of Regional Relationships, and is always a very happy face to see, because Steve's always there either opening up new projects or concluding ones that have been in operation for years. So it's always a nice association when we see you, Steve. And finally, Randia Kama, who is the Regional Manager, System Design. So the purpose of this item today is to receive the update from Waka Kotahi on its Auckland program, and to really kick off what we hope is going to be an ongoing relationship with this committee and with Auckland Transport. And welcome Mark Lambert to the table as well. So I'll leave it over to you, Steve, to do the introductions and to proceed with the presentation, which is also available on Nexus.
Tēnā koutou, Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity for joining the Transport and Infrastructure Committee this morning. We really value this opportunity to have this relationship with you from Waka Kotahi perspective, and also to be at the table here in partnership and collaboration with Auckland Transport. Look, you've done the introductions well, so thank you for that. I'll pass over to Nicole, our Chief Executive, who will run through a short presentation for you. Thank you, Nicole.
Nau mai, haere mai, kei te rangatira tēnā koe. Hello and welcome. Firstly, just to acknowledge Steve, who is our Director of Regional Relationships in Auckland and the Upper North, and has done a tremendous job for Waka Kotahi. Also Mark Lambert, my colleague, worked very closely with Mark, and also the members of the AT board who are involved in the committee here today. It is wonderful to have the opportunity to talk to you today around the work that we're doing together in Auckland and the role of Waka Kotahi in that. So if you move to the next slide. The reason I'm not there today is, you're very aware, I think, that we're in the middle of some unprecedented weather events across the country, very, very significant, and they are having quite significant impacts in Auckland. 70 local roads still out, which Mark will no doubt have talked to you about, but we also have some flooding still on State Highway 16 and Dome Valley. More broadly, in the rest of the country, we have some very significant large-scale impacts, which will require a very coordinated and large-scale response. And so I think the presentation today probably should be contextualised within that context, because we have quite a changing environment in terms of immediate priorities for New Zealand in the transport space. But within that context, I just want to acknowledge the very strong partnerships we have in Tamaki Makaurau. We are working very closely together and have, I think, really built our relationships over the last 3 years to quite a different level from what they have been historically. We share nationally and locally very significant transport challenges, and I will talk about those shortly. Very significant trade-offs and how we manage those challenges. And we are all dealing with a very large ambition to do climate change, safety, and to build our cities in a modern and reliable way in an environment where we all have funding constraints. So it is a very challenging environment. We are in the process of delivering our 21 to 24 National Land Transport Program and associated plan. But we are also looking at what we're doing with the next National Land Transport Plan, and obviously working with the government on its broader transport program, with around 50 to 60% of funding for transport now coming directly from government. The National Land Transport Program now forms only about 50% of the funding that is occurring in the transport system in New Zealand. So if I move on to the next slide. We have some very big ambition and some very big challenges that we're seeking to address through the transport system in New Zealand and in Auckland. And this slide outlines both the problems and the outcomes we're seeking. So we're looking to provide more travel options for people. We have committed as a nation to the climate neutral New Zealand by 2050, and therefore climate change, both in terms of emission reduction, but also in terms of adaptation, has become an increasingly important focus for the transport system, where 18% of the emissions profile of New Zealand will be responsible for 50% of the emission reduction targets, and hence it's transport.
Nicole, you might have to, we've got a bit of alarm going here, and I've been told that. So we'll just adjourn the meeting and evacuate outside, and then resume hopefully in due course. Sorry about that. I'm not quite sure what's going on.
The emergency is current transport policy settings.
Stay online or log off?
I think those online should just stay because we'll be on the same link.
Councillors online, you maybe just stay online and keep abreast of developments.